everybody. I'm Tommy Maroon here for yet another great rendition of the Tommy Maroon Sports Show. As usual, we got so much excitement, so much fun, and it's coming up right here with my trivia question of the week. Now, what school has the most Suburban League championships? Well, my answer, you got to think outside of the box because the correct answer is Green. Green won 16 Suburban Leagues. And the funny thing is that a part of the 2015 expansion, Green decided to leave, which was kind of weird because they have been in the Suburban League from 1949 to 2015. And speaking of Suburban League, let's look at the scores and all that funky and fun stuff. And we'll show it on the screen. And your scores, Kent Roosevelt came back from the dead to beat Highland 35-28. Those poor Hornets are 0-5, but I have a feeling that's going to change soon. And on the opposite end of that spectrum, Aurora destroyed Talmadge 55-6. Aurora's halfway through the dream season. And Barberton continuing their hot pace, 48-7. They are 2-0 as they have really destroyed their last two opponents. Copley lost to East 27-7. While Twinsburg eked out a win against Cuyahoga Falls 21-20. Brecksville Broadview Heights continues their hot streak as they beat Hudson 35-28. Wadsworth finally gets off the schneid, beating Nordonia 34-28. And Stowe also got off the schneid by beating North Royalton 51-14. Let's look at the American Conference for standings, as it's hard to believe, but we are halfway through the season. And I can't wait to see what happens next. Of course, high school football, my favorite topic, but the standings looking like this. Barberton is in first, Roosevelt in second, Aurora's in third, and the only reason why they're not first is because they are 1-0 rather than 2-0. So come the end of the season, if they continue to be all perfect and stuff, then they will obviously win the American Conference because the Green Men are looking very good. Revere 3-2, 1-1 record. Copley is 1-4, 0-1 record. And Talmadge and Highland happen to be winless, unfortunately. Of course, Highland is a very star-studded team nonetheless. Always fun to watch them, and I got to tell you, Highland is really developing into a stronger team because if you watch them like week 1 and 2, they sort of get off to a bumpy start, and North Royalton looked good. Barberton, they hung around. Roosevelt should have been a win, so don't count Highland out. They're not that bad. National Conference, Brecksville is in first place. Stunningly, 3-2, 2-0. And remember, at the beginning of the season, I said, remember, anything can happen. And what you know, Brecksville is doing mighty fine. Stowe is 4-1. Wadsworth is 3-2. North Royalton also 3-2. Nordonia, Hudson, and Twinsburg are all 2-3. And Stowe all the way down to Twinsburg are all 1-1 conference play. And unfortunately, Cuyahoga Falls has 0 wins despite not a shabby 2-3 record. Week 6 preview. Aurora against Kent Roosevelt. Of course, Aurora and Kent are both undefeated. Well, in different terms, Aurora's undefeated so far throughout the entire season, and Roosevelt is undefeated 2-0. So Copley against Barberton. Magic's trying to hold that ground in the American Conference. Brecksville is going up against Cuyahoga Falls in a good rivalry. Of course, both are on the opposite ends of the spectrum. 2-0 for Brecksville, 0-2 for Cuyahoga. Last but most certainly not least, Wadsworth against Stowe. Two big teams looking for a big win. That's going to be pretty exciting. And as usual, next week here on the Tommy Maroon Sports Show, WCTV, you will catch it all. So, Cleveland Indians now, the 2019 player stats. So in case you don't know, the season has come to an end and we did not make the playoffs. How frustrating is that? Francisco Lindor had 284 average, 40 doubles, 32 home runs. Carlos Santana, 281 average, 110 runs, 34 homers, 93 RBIs. and 108 walks. And I also believe he had 108 strikeouts. And in the era in which strikeouts seem to be way through the roof, that's impressive that you're able to maintain a low strikeout rate and the walks are around the same area. Of course, Carlos Santana is an on-base percentage machine. Tyler Naquin went with a .288 batting average, 10 homers, 34 RBIs, and 79 hits. Oscar Mercado didn't do bad for a rookie season, 269 average, 118 hits, and 54 RBIs. Jose Ramirez got off to a pretty sluggish start, but continued right where he left off in the second half. And when I mean left off in the second half, I meant what he was doing in 2016-17, first half of 2018. 255 average to end the season, 23 homers, 83 RBIs, and 123 hits. And of course, who could possibly forget the Southpaw killer, Jordan Luplow? 276 average, 372 on base percentage, and 14 home runs against lefties. Hence my term, the Southpaw killer. And the three pitchers you had that were the big three. Number one, Shane Bieber, 15-8 record, 3.28 ERA, 259 strikeouts, and a 2.30 opponent average. Mike Clevenger, he really got on fire towards the second half. Put pitcher of the month in August. Everything was going his way. 13-4 record, 2.71 ERA, 2.09 opponent average, and a 1.06 whip. And Aaron Savali had a 3-4 record, but he was a tough luck loser for just about all of his games. 2.34 ERA, 46 strikeouts, and a 1.04 whip. So the final standings this year started off pretty sluggish. Looked like we weren't going to make the playoffs. Then came June, July, early August, in which it looked like the playoffs were guaranteed. And then came mid-August to September. It was kind of like watching a train wreck going by, as we ended up with a great 93-69 record, but we were second in the AL Central, 8 games back of the Minnesota Twins, who really ended off really strong, preventing a big meltdown. I thought it was going to be us winning the division, but alas, we only led the division one day, from May to the end of the season. Quite a shame. 3 games back at Tampa for the second wild card. We swept 5 different teams. We swept the Tigers an incredible 5 times, swept the Angels twice, swept the Mariners, the Blue Jays, and the Kansas City Royals. And the teams that swept us, why, the Royals, Rays, Mets, A's, and the Nationals in no particular order. I believe we won 17-16 against AL East teams, 48-28 against AL Central teams, 19-13 against AL West teams, 8-12 against National League teams, 49-32 at home, and 44-37 on the road. We went 25-39 against teams above 500, and incredible 68-30 against teams that finished under 500. So the last 2 series of the season, disappointing. We played the White Sox at New Comiskey Park / U.S. Cellular Field / Guaranteed Rate Field / whatever on earth you want to call it. We lost that series 2-1. We finished with an 8-11 record against the White Sox this year. And Jose Ramirez was red hot. Coming back off the injured list, his first at-bat, an incredible grand slam. One of the 3 home runs he had in that series, plus 8 RBIs. He had 7 RBIs in our lone win in the series. And then came the National Series. The Nationals built a grave for us, forced us to get in it, and they did everything. We got swept, as I mentioned. We finished regular season 93-69, and we were eliminated from the postseason on the very first game, following a loss and a Tampa Bay win. And I believe Washington scored an incredible 9 runs in the second inning, And while we attempted a comeback, it was way too little, way too late. And we did not make the playoffs for the first time since 2015, the year Sports Illustrated predicted us to win the World Series. Is it the SI cover jinx? Maybe, maybe not. You never know the SI cover jinx. Because remember, Michael Jordan, I believe, has appeared on more Sports Illustrated covers than anybody else, and he is widely regarded as one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Literally nothing could stop him, especially in the 1990s. Any 90s kid will tell you that. And we'll look at the Cleveland Browns now. Some player stats, why not? Baker Mayfield, 59 completion percentage, 1,147 yards, 8.3 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Nick Chubb, 398 yards, 5.1 yards per carry, and 4 touchdowns. Jarvis Landry, 328 yards, 18.2 yards per reception, and 180 yak, like the shaven yak from Ren and Stimpy. Another 90s reference for those of you that don't know. There's also Odell Beckham Jr., by the way, I'm not a 90s person growing up right now, but OBJ, 308 yards, 14.7 yards per reception, 1 touchdown. The standings so far, as we'll get a picture of every NFL team, we are at a 2-2 record, tied for the Ravens. They're on your screen right there. For first place, -2 net points. We won both games on the road, the Jets and the Ravens, the aforementioned Ravens, and lost both games at home, which happened to be Tennessee and the Rams. Now time to look at the Cleveland Browns Baltimore Ravens game. Guess what happened? We won by a final score of 40-25. 2-2 record for both teams, and as I previously mentioned, we are tied with Baltimore for first place now. Baker did not do bad. 20 for 30, 342 yards, 1 touchdown. Nick Chubb, 165 yards, 8.3 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns, and a monster, mammoth, unbelievable touchdown run that went 88 yards in the fourth quarter. Let me tell you something, that kid can run. Jarvis Landry had 8 receptions for 167 yards, but unfortunately without a touchdown. In fact, Jarvis has no touchdowns this season, and he's been doing so good too. Baker threw a 9-yard touchdown pass to Ricky Seals-Jones in the first quarter. Jermaine Whitehead for the good guys had an interception in the third quarter. And Lamar Jackson, after going his first 3 games without throwing a pick. That's right, I'm referring to first game against the Miami Dolphins, as you all know, as Free Willie's dead and hunted brother. The Arizona Cardinals and Kansas City Chiefs threw 0 interceptions in those 3 games. Sunday, it was different. Jermaine Whitehead, as I previously mentioned, had an interception. One of the 2 interceptions thrown by Jackson on Sunday and the season. Of course, Jackson's still a good quarterback, but we still won. We'll be squaring up against those San Francisco 49ers at Levi Stadium. First time I believe we are going there ever, in Santa Clara, California, for Monday night. It will be our second Monday Night Football game of the season, our last Monday Night Football game of the season, and the third of 4 primetime football games for the Cleveland Browns. Quite an honor to be in a bunch of primetime games, and I cannot wait. A lot of excitement, and of course tonight we have the American League wildcard game, Tampa against Oakland at the Oakland Coliseum, or known to Oakland people as the Mausoleum. We'll see what happens there. Of course, that reminds me of next week's show, as we will be talking more about the Suburban League as it goes into that last sprint to see who wins the American Conference. Will the Hornets make an incredible comeback out of nowhere to do it? Will Aurora go perfect? Will Brecksville continue the momentum? Will Cuyahoga come out of nowhere? Will Wadsworth win it? All these questions are going to be answered within the next few weeks. Of course, we'll talk about the MLB postseason, the Cleveland Browns, the NBA coming up. So much stuff. October is one of my favorite times of the year because so much excitement, so much sports, so much fun. And we're going to recap everything on the Tommy Maroon Sports Show. But before we sign off, my trivia question of the week. Who did the Cleveland Browns beat in the 1964 NFL Championship? That's right, who did we beat in the 1964 NFL title game? We'll see who it is next week. Till then, I am signing off. Goodbye.